Okay, welcome to e-learning for the topic logarithm. Now I'm going to start only on the first part of logarithm, which is to actually convert the index form to the log form. Okay, now if you were to look at these two equations here, you were to realize that the first one is actually known as the index form and the second one is known as the log form. Now, what are the characteristics of an index form? Basically, you have the base that is represented by the b here, and you have the power. Okay, now let's look at the logarithm form. What you have is basically the log word here. Okay, and you realize that the base has now moved to the bottom part here. Okay, so for logarithm, the base will be below and just beside the log word. Next, the power here, x, is actually alone on the left hand side. It is no longer with b. Alright, so you realize that there is a shift from right hand side to the left hand side. Okay, now let's go on to the first example. Now you're supposed to convert the following to the logarithmic expression. Now if you were to look at the equation carefully, now let's identify the base. The base is actually 6. Okay, so meaning to say that your answer should be log base 6. Okay, now the power is 3. Therefore, you realize that instead of having it on the left hand side, it is now on the right hand side. So log base 6, okay, and the answer here for 216 is actually placed beside the logarithm. Okay, so that is how you convert from index form to logarithmic expression. So using this example, I will highlight again how do you convert. First, it is easy to note the base. It is the one with the power. So the one with the base has to go beside the log. Okay, now next thing, you realize that the base will always have the power beside it. In logarithm, you separate both of them. So the power 3 has to be alone on the other side. Thus, you actually place the answer 216 beside the base. Okay, so in simple words, basically number 3 and 216 switch sides. Now let's move on to the second example. Now in this example, you are again supposed to change it into log form. Okay, now identify the base. Now identify the power. You realize that the base and the power cannot be together. So you have log base 3, okay, 1/9 equals to -2. And there you have it. Okay, now let's move on to the third example. Now in this case, you are supposed to do the reverse. You are given the log form. You are supposed to give the index form, or in other words, exponential expression. So now, given that it's log base 4, so I know that it's 4 to the power of something. It cannot be 4 to the power of 1024 because the base and power cannot be together. Therefore, it's 4 power 5 equals to 102. Are we okay? Now moving on. Example 4. Okay, you're supposed to convert once again into index form. Alright, now I have log base 4. Okay, so 4 to the power of c. Okay, so it is equals to 1 over 64. Now moving on. Now you're supposed to find the value of this example here, log base 2 16. Okay, so what you do is, so first what you do is you actually let the question be equals to x. Now do take note that we are trying to find the x value at the end of the day. Okay, so now if you were to look at this sentence itself, this equation, you realize that there's nothing much you can do. So how about we change it into index form? Okay, so you have 2 to the power of x equals to 16. Okay, now can you make a guess how are you going to solve for x? Now the clue is the base. Okay, you have to change the base to the same number. Now you realize that 16 is actually 2 to the power of 4. Okay, so from here 2 to the power of 4 equals to 2 to the power of x. Since the base are the same, x is equals to 4. Okay, now an extra question. What if I change the question to log base 2 negative 16? Do you think you can solve the question? Now I want you to try on your own first. Okay, I hope you press the pause button and try it on your own before you look at the answer. Okay, let's look at the answer now. Okay, first what I do is, same like the top part, I actually change it to index form. Okay, now I want you to compare between this form and this form. Can you express negative 16 in terms of 2 to the power of x? Okay, you realize that for any power, okay, I can never get a negative value here. Meaning to say that, okay, it is not possible, it is not defined. Alright, you can never have a negative a negative answer here for logarithm. Alright, so do take note of that. That is one of the property of logarithm. Okay, now we continue with the next example. Okay, so now what if the question is log base 2 0? Okay, so what is the value? Now what you do first is you let log 2 0 equals to x, and now you put it in index form. You will realize that in order to get 0 as the answer, okay, the power x has to be, make a guess. Now some of you will say power x has to be 0. That is wrong. Okay, you realize that if power x equals to 0, the answer should be 1 and not 0, meaning to say that it is not defined. Okay, you cannot find a value of x, okay, that is equals to 0. Now let's move on to the next part. Now what if the question is log base negative 3 146? You realize that the base cannot be negative, okay, if not, it is not defined. Now I want you to try to think on your own the reason why. Okay, we shall go through this during lesson itself. Okay, example 6. Find the value of log base 1 over 3 27. Okay, now what you can do is you let the value be x, and from there you turn it into index form. Try and see whether you can work it out on your own. Okay, on the next slide I will show you the solution. Okay, here's the solution. Now we realize that I actually changed it to index form over here. Okay, now we always put the base into the same number, as the same number. So over here I realize it's 3, okay, and over here 27 can be expressed as 3 to the power of 3. Thus, I change 1 over 3 as 3 negative 1. Okay, now I can see that 3 to the power of 3 equals to 3 to the power of negative x. Since the base are the same, the power negative x is equals to 3. Therefore, x is equals to negative 3. Okay? Okay, example 7. Find the value of log base 9, 1. Now try this on your own. I will just show you the solution on the next slide. Okay, now you realize that once again I change it into index form, and from here I realize that the answer over here is 1. 9 power something equals to 1. Thus x should be 0, okay, in order to get 1. Okay, last example, log base 18, 18. Okay, now for this kind of question, I want you to try and solve and see what you get. Okay, you realize that if the base and the number itself is the same, okay, the value will always be 1. Meaning to say that if I have log base 10, 10, it will be equals to 1 as well. Alright? Now, on the second page of your worksheet, you realize that there are some properties of logarithm. Okay, now I want you to go through them on your own. Okay, and lastly, try the last example, alright, on your own, and I shall go through it during lesson. Make sure you bring this on Wednesday itself. So reminder, Wednesday, you are supposed to bring the graded assignment, all 30 questions done, as well as the introduction to logarithms worksheet. Alright, I hope you enjoy the rest of the holidays, and I see you on Wednesday. Take care.